Welcome to No Room for Phonies, podcast number 44.
Nice.
And third podcast in the education series.
Yep.
And I guess I'll wear this dress for the entire education series, as we just pointed out.
Serendipitously, you
yeah,
were wearing
every
the
2
same
weeks
dress.
At the podcast, I wear this dress. But anyway, tonight's podcast is about how do we really support kids on their learning journey, helping them be successful. And there's a saying, success breeds success, and it is true. When you are successful, then you feel more confident, and then you are more willing to try things, and on it goes. So tonight we're just going to talk about supporting kids on their learning journey.
Sounds good.
The cocktail of the month we've tried, the mango daiquiri, was good.
Very good.
Very good. Lots
the
of
ingredient is right over there.
Yeah, it's a mango Malibu rum. It's very good. Anyway, so it's a good one. I think I even posted part of a picture of it on when I posted a recipe for tacos on our website.
Nice.
So
cool.
Anyway, the book recommendations, I just made a list of books that you should read to your children or grandchildren. So Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. And you painted the Zachary's nursery in the pictures from the Where the
video,
Wild.
put it on your website.
Yeah, that would be fun. We'll put the video on the website. Frog and Toad Are Friends by Arnold Lobel. That's a very good story.
I haven't read that one.
Yep. I have, to our kids.
Well, okay.
Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise
Read
Brown.
that 100 times.
Hubble Bubble Granny Trouble by Tracy Corduroy is a very funny book. Iris Sleeps Over by Bernard Weber. Parts, More Parts, and Even More Parts by Ted Arnold, which is a book about bodies and parts and whatever.
Good.
Rain Makes Applesauce, which is a book actually about grammar and speech, and you would actually really, really like it.
I should read that one. Then.
Yeah. Pete the Cat, I Love My White Shoes. That's all the Pete Cat books are very fun.
Are these written since our kids grew up? Because I don't remember many of these.
Pete the Cat is new, but Rain Makes Applesauce is old. Parts is new. Hubble Bubble Granny Trouble is a newer story.
Okay.
Rosie Revere Engineer is
Nice.
Andrea Beatty, and it's it's what it is.
Recent.
Sylvester and the Magic Pebble by William Steigen. That's an old book.
All right. Is Sylvester an animal or a child?
He's a little character.
Okay.
Podcast recommendation for me is there's a podcast by the Vancouver Island University called Successful You. I
didn't write it down who I was going to suggest.
Oh, well, you don't get to then. And then I'm starting with a question of the month. It's a new thing.
Question of the month or of the episode? Of the bi-week?
Of the bi-weekly podcast.
All
question
right.
of the podcast, right? Do you think resistance to vaccine is going to impact friendships? Or do you think resistance to vaccines should impact friendships?
And we are withholding our opinions till next episode because we want to hear from you.
Yeah, so if you have an opinion about that, you can post it. You can send us an email. You can do whatever you want to kind of let us know how you feel about that.
Yep.
Will it and should it? So how do we really support kids on their learning journey? How do we really help kids be successful? So I have a bunch of things that I have, and a lot of these are just passionately from my own experience as a teacher. And I found that when students were directed by having a certain goal and knowing how to achieve it, that they found it easier to be successful.
Well, and I mean, I work with adult learners, but if adult learners have the objectives given to them, they have much more buy-in than if you come into the class and they're left guessing what's going on.
So, for example, like I would encourage my teachers, and I certainly did this when I was doing a social studies unit, I would put all our goals on the board of things that, and not just like, I need you to learn this fact, this fact, this fact, but we're going to do comparison, or we're going to do this, or we're going to research, or whatever. And by the end of this unit, these are some of the skills. And I think I've talked about this in other podcasts, but I think that children are more successful when they are clear about the direction that they're going.
I think your second half here is how to achieve the goal. I think, so yes, this is what I want you to learn, but then we are going to be doing,
Right. And we're going to practice.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting it, we're going to do exit cards, and I'm going to know. And so I might draw a small group of kids in who aren't getting a certain thing, and then we'll work extra on it. Like, so when kids have a direction and they know how to get there, and they know that there's going to be a method, that I think they're better.
So guess what? As a parent, if you can communicate with teachers about this kind of thing.
Well, I just think there's no reason why, and I'm going to get into this later in in one of the series about it, about what you should be hearing from your kid's teacher.
Oh, okay, then I won't. Sorry, I jumped.
So, and then the second thing that helps students be successful is focus. And we all know that some kids have more trouble focusing than others, but I think you can find lots of ways to help kids stay on track. Backwards timeline, like when I was teaching essay writing to older kids, I taught them a backwards timeline. So this is the day your essay's due. Here's all the dates right up into the point, and then we did check-ins, and we did.
But if the focus is like more in the minute, like in a 10-minute block of time.
Well, and I taught, then they have to know that these are the expectations of these next 10 minutes. And I was very clear about that as a teacher, particularly when I was teaching younger grades. Okay, and the next, I'm going to give you 10 minutes. And now, like, things are so easy because you can put up on your smart board timers.
Yeah.
Like timers off, like downloadable timers that show. I mean, I used.
Well, and there's all sorts of visual ones, right? Like there's hourglasses, but there's other fun ones like rockets about to take off, and
I used the marble in the jar thing where I said if everybody can, like, focus and read quietly and do this next task, because this is a individual focus or this is a group thing, and I'm giving you 15 minutes, and this is what I expect to happen at the end of this 15 minutes. I'm going to throw a marble in that jar, and when that marble jar is full, we're going to get 5 extra minutes outside, or we're going to do something. And we would vote on or make a list
or what the prizes could be
of what the motivation was for stuff. And
I
that
find
works
now
with all ages
teaching
of kids.
And adults too. I find teaching online now with the groups that because I can't be in every single group on camera at the same time, they have their 10-minute task. This is what you're going to have to do. And also they're adults, right? I say, but they still, some of them just go off on their browsers or whatever. So the focus is the goal. Like at the end of these 10 minutes, I want all 3 of you to be able to say this, write this, do this, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I don't have that focus, it's really easy for them to go.
So planning for that.
Yeah.
And then students feel somebody wants them to succeed and helps them every step of the way. That nurturing environment, that messaging. Like, I know that when I taught at some inner city schools, I was very careful to message them that high school wasn't the end of their learning journey, that they were capable of going to college, that university was an option for them, because they weren't hearing those nurturing messages
at home
from their home, a lot of them.
Right.
And so school had to be that very nurturing place that said, no, you're smart, and here's how I know you're smart. Look at the way you can write. Look at the way you can do math. Look at the way that you can whatever.
What about the kids with the super intense parents that feel under pressure to measure?
Well, and I'm going to go back to the electronic online portfolio where you upload student work so that parents can go on and look at it and say, oh, okay, my kid is, and some
I
of
know,
the
but I meant like the parents who aren't happy with the B+ and want the A+.
Well, they have to get over it. Sorry.
But that's not, how do you nurture the child that's going home to
Well,
that?
I mean, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. If the true picture of the child is available to the parent to see, and the goals are clear and the focus is clear, then I have brought a lot of parents around to understanding that, like, there were parents that I had to say, your child, I mean, in Canada, we have advanced and, it used to be advanced and general.
Streamlined.
We have streamed programs in high school. And I sat with a lot of parents to try to help them. I know we're de-streaming in grade 9, which is fine, but I don't want to get into politics about it. But there are ways of having courageous conversations with parents. But you can't just sit down and say, oh, your kid's not an A student.
No.
You have to say, these are where we're at. And, that's where the focus on marks is kind of sad sometimes, because that becomes...
Because that's not the only way. That's not the only way to nurture them.
And marks are only really impactful and effective if the actual assessment is effective.
Right.
So I remember as a teacher getting last year's report cards and looking at them and thinking, holy cow, these kids are smart, all A+, and then I'd start grading them, and what a terrible feeling it is to realize that the teacher prior was kind of
doctoring the grades.
Not doctoring, but let's just say that
being too nice,
or just not having... I don't think anyone wants to do a bad job as a teacher, but just didn't have the knowledge or whatever. And you're finding out things about the kids through your assessments, and you're looking at things differently. And my rule always was with teachers, if they got a A+ in science and you're giving them a B+, you better warn that parent that there's a full grade dropping from what they were used to, because and you better know why.
Right.
So, that whole, and what is success, I think, is another thing. Like, is success an A+? Or is success, I could only read, 10 words yesterday, but today I can read 15.
Right.
Or
it's the incremental. It's not.
And that's where I think you have to be very clear about the goals and the achievement and how to keep them on track and their eye on the prize, and nurture them as they're moving through all the steps. And as parents too, like I remember having these conversations with parents where I would say, let's talk about what your child does well. Okay, let's talk about what your child is struggling with. Okay, now let's talk like a sandwich, right? Okay, so now let's talk about how your child is, interacting and what kind of a citizen they are.
Right.
Right? And the things they need to work on. But what are they contributing to our society? And, so if you word things properly, I believe you can get through anything. So that's just... And difficult and courageous conversations are difficult and courageous conversations. You're not going to change that.
No.
So, and sometimes you just have to have them. That's why I believe that a portion of a parent-teacher interview needs to be with the parent and the teacher.
Not the kid leading it.
And there's nothing wrong with a portion of it being that way. And the problem now in Ontario, at least, is that because of union influence, teachers only have to give like a 10-minute interview. So that's not really enough time.
But parents can talk to teachers.
Oh, you can talk to your teacher anytime.
Any other time of the year.
Absolutely.
You don't have to only have that interview as the...
And I think when students are engaged, which is my next point about success, when students feel a part of what they're doing and they're actively participating both in class, and I call them co-curricular activities. A lot of people call them extracurricular activities. Right. But I believe that co-curricular activities are the ones that go with the curriculum that provide that opportunity for engagement that's outside the four walls of the classroom, right, and should not be considered extra, because when they're considered extra, then teachers don't feel that it's part of their job.
Right.
So,
but I mean, team sports.
That's all co-curricular.
Chess club, all that stuff.
And that's really important for kids, because they need, some kids who aren't as academic can really excel and do well. And so then when they have a great experience on the basketball court or in the chess club, you can pull that experience back into the classroom and use that to your benefit to help them engage. And not to say, if you don't do well on this test, you're not playing basketball.
No.
But to say, you're a smart and successful person on the basketball court. Like, you've got brains in your head.
And what do you use there to stay focused? Because they can focus there.
Yes.
Right?
So in student engagement, and I mean, I don't think I've ever talked about any subject more as a principal than student engagement. Because if you're in a, I don't want to say wealthier school, but a higher class neighborhood, students are disengaged because of certain reasons. And when you're in lower class neighborhoods, students are disengaged for other reasons. So student engagement is a huge part of what, and I think that active participation in class and co-curricular stuff improves engagement and leads to success for kids. And I think students also need to feel connected. Students need to feel that they're part of a community. So that is why you have clubs and sports and opportunities to volunteer. And I remember at one school I was at where it was a bus monitor situation. Well, the teachers would come to me and say, well, these kids are going to be my bus monitors. And I said, well, we've just had a sign up. Oh no, I only want these kids. Well, you have to sometimes draw kids in by giving them an opportunity. And maybe a kid, hasn't always come across as the most responsible child in the whole darn school. But if you show that you're a little bit confident in them, give them a job, monitor it, and help them problem solve through some of the challenges of it, then they can
feel that connection.
And then they start feeling connected to something. And I mean, I saw kids who were bad at a lot of things or even had behavior issues who, when they were put as responsible for getting those 3 little kids to a bus, were very successful. Yeah. So
because they were taken seriously.
So you have to somehow connection. I mean, we've learned that in some of our courses that we take through Udemy. Yeah, connection is huge. We are all seeking to be connected.
Well, and COVID has highlighted that need.
For sure. Students need to feel valued, and I mean that's their skills, their talents, their abilities, their experience have to be recognized. And they have to feel that they're being appreciated. So that's why I always had celebration assemblies where kids were not just honored for the stars of the school, right, but where you looked for ways to show student leadership and celebrate citizenship and volunteerism and all those kinds of things. So because I really do think that people do need to be inspired by something. And you have to be inspiring. Sometimes I would sit at assemblies and I was at the front helping the kids lead the assembly or whatever. And 25 teachers are sitting around the outside, not even monitoring their kids. And I'm talking to each other. And I'm thinking, how is this inspiring kids? I would...
Because the kids on stage...
Oh, and the other one that drove me crazy, to be honest, is it would be getting to May and June in that year, and someone would come to me and say, I need 8 certificates, because I didn't limit the number of celebration certificates that they could give. I need 8 certificates because I have 8 kids left that need to be recognized. And I'd be like, okay, kids do not feel valued when you just recognize everybody. I mean, I had a principal I worked for that he complimented every single person in the school. And so when you get to me, I'd say, you just told that crazy woman down the hall who's still got her Christmas tree up in March that she's great. So I don't really value, you're just saying it to everybody.
Yeah.
And the one school I went of, well, we make sure that every student at graduation gets an award. I'm like, how does that work? So kids are not going to feel valued if it's not authentic.
No.
So, write a note to the student, display work, praise kids verbally. Like, I would go in classrooms
but
and
specifically, not
specific.
Not the good job.
Oh, this class is wonderful. No, I would walk from student to student and say, wow, that's a really interesting way that you solved that math problem. Can you talk to me about it? Because the rest of it, kids see through that just like that in a heartbeat. So directed, focused, nurtured, engaged, connected, and valued, all those things lead to success.
I was trying to see if I could make a little acrostic, but
no. I don't think so. There's not enough vowels in there, I don't think. Ensuring that extra help and coaching are available to kids all the time. I think we've lost that a bit because we don't have the after school help club and, all that sort of stuff. And I just remember like in schools where everybody was a walker and saying, well, if they're not getting their work done during the school day and you're not keeping them in for recess because you want them to get fresh air, and I understand all that, it's pretty amazing what a child can get done in 15 minutes after school.
If you leave them, but the parents have to know that.
But if you're coaching, that's a phone call.
Yeah, right.
Right? And it's a phone call where you say, yeah, I'm going to stay and just help and make sure your kid gets this. Do you think some parents going to go, it's not punitive.
No, it's just...
It's help and coaching are available to students before, like kids are often at school before school starts.
Yeah, that's true.
You just grab them off the plate. Hey, I need you. As a teacher, I'd be out on the playground going, you, come here. We got to deal with yesterday's math issue because today needs to start right. So... I mean, that is really, and I think the other thing about success is high expectations and strong routines in a classroom lead to kids being, I believe that everyone in this classroom can do this, and this. We are going to work together because what's important in this classroom is that everyone is, students can achieve high results. All students can achieve high results given them right amount of time and support.
Yeah.
So you might learn this particular thing really, really fast, but you struggle with that because I don't care how gifted and amazing you are. I mean, we've dealt with this with our own kids. You have strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So high expectations in a classroom that has established really strong routines. I don't think I can say enough about routine in a classroom.
Is that why you have bold text on your notes?
No, it's not. It's just because it's a point. But routine, like spending September getting things sorted and talking and making sure
wouldn't
that
it be
things are
nice
clear.
If
what do you do in your classrooms? You
a bit
want
of
things
consistency?
routine.
What if there was a bit of consistency from grade to grade, so that it would be about reminding the students of their routines?
Well, and I think that's why
when there's a teacher that doesn't have any routines, and then the next teacher inherits that group, and then they have.
But
to start
that's why
all
there's
over.
programs, right? Like there are actual classroom routine programs that schools adopt, right?
Yeah, it's just whether they're
and a principal has to monitor, right? That because there was one that we were doing all the time, right? I can't. I'd have to look it up, but of course there should be consistency. But that's a whole school. Let's talk about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had this issue with adult learners at the beginning of the cell phone era.
Yeah.
Because there were some people who were like, no cell phones. And I was like, technology, let's use it.
Well, and we're having that same issue in elementary school. Like, should kids have cell phones in class? Like there's a huge group of people that say there should never be and then there's another group of people that says, yeah, kids need to learn to use in a responsible way.
They need to learn self-regulation at some point.
But you know that if you allow a cell phone in a classroom, sometimes bad things are going to happen.
Yes.
But it's the same thing to me as you know that if you allow a soccer ball on a playground, someone's going to get kicked in the head with it.
Right.
Because someone's going to kick it at somebody's head eventually. Mm-hmm. So do you get rid of all the soccer balls? There are some playgrounds, right? We've heard of that, right? Yep. In the news. No balls on this playground because... So instead of dealing with the underlying problem of whatever it is, we just take everything away.
You mean going upstream?
Upstream, yes. Dealing with the problem. So high expectations. And I believe you can do this. I believe we can get along. I believe we can make this happen. I believe you can learn this because guess what? I've laid out all the goals and the steps and I'm here to get you through it.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing that a student success is help students be successful is teachers continuing their professional growth. Up-to-date resources and research and strategies and varied instruction and, like you can find a teacher on the Ontario College of Teachers site and you can see exactly the kind of upgrading that your teacher...
Or the lack thereof.
And I believe that teachers' professional growth and student success, some of the teachers that to me had the most... they were able to actually help their children were the teachers that were working as teams, helping each other, trying new things, trying anything to get that kid to read. Not just, technology is our friend, but it's
also
not just sitting kids on computers.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of great computer programs, but no great computer program is going to help a child if it's not being monitored.
Right.
Like it's like Dreambox, which is the big thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Like teachers would go, yeah, we're on Dreambox for this period. Well, Dreambox is an interactive thing. There are lessons on it that teachers can be used. And teachers can actually, from their computer, like go in and monitor and help kids. And like there's a lot of stuff available for people. But I had teachers who, despite being released to learn like programs and I can't learn that. Oh, that's too hard. Or they were freaked out by a slight change in the IEP or the individualized education program or the report card program. And
how about reading emails?
And I had teachers that didn't go on their emails.
Forgot their password and didn't know how to get a password there. But they could have if it was Amazon.
Yes, but I'm just saying, and that's not... There are many, many excellent teachers, but I'm just saying that teachers who upgrade and vary their instruction and look for new research and strategies and resources are truly... Kids in those classes are more successful.
Yes.
100%. And then the last thing that I just wanted to talk about is the partnership with home.
Mm-hmm.
And a really down to earth, a lot of times I would say, I'm a parent like you. And I know not all teachers are parents, but to have normally teachers or parents get the idea immediately if you're looking down on them or you're not treating them
if you think, I have a university degree in education, so I know more than you do, kind of that.
And parents always know their kids best. And sometimes just the idea that in order to understand where their child is truly at, sometimes you have to ask a few questions and you have to take your ego and get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Because if the parent comes to you and says, my child doesn't want to come to school, my child doesn't feel successful in your class.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not doing their work. Well, they're not this. Well, they're not that. Instead of saying, tell me about that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think's happening? Where do you think I can help?
Right.
Which is your job at $100,000 a year. Not that every teacher makes that.
Okay,
but
that's in Ontario, Canada.
Yes. But I'm just saying, it's your job to make kids successful. So that's my thoughts on success. Kids need direction and focus and nurturing and engagement and connectedness and they need to be valued. They need to be coached. And they need high expectations and strong routines and teachers that are growing and partnership with home. So that's my thing.
Sounds great.
So then, and again, I'll stress, like, if you have questions or you want to ask a question specifically about your own child, you can email me or you
don't talk to me.
You can put, no, don't talk to him. So, but anyway, so July 30th, I'm going to do 10 questions to ask your child's teacher before school starts.
Nice.
And August 15th, what to do when your child doesn't want to go to school, which could happen after COVID, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some stuff. August 30th is going to be kids using technology for good. And September 15th, what information should you get from your child's teacher daily and weekly and monthly, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
September 30th is what is differentiation in a classroom.
Good.
And October 15th is strategies that build community in schools. And October 30th, which will be the last one in the education series, is what should all schools promote.
That sounds really good.
So that's the one. So thank you for joining us on No Room for Phonies. How do we really support kids on their learning journey and help them be successful?